I'm pleased to introduce my next guest who co-founded this company in 2003 with $8.3 million and has since grown the company to over $200 million in market cap. Evolution Petroleum is extremely focused on its growing oil assets, as well as its Mississippi lime acreage in Oklahoma, its Delphi assets that it's partnering with Denbury. I want to welcome Bob Herlin, Evolution Petroleum's Chairman, President, and Chief Executive Officer. So talk with us a little bit about your Delphi Field. If I'm not mistaken, you and Denbury are partnering on a few CO2 recovery projects. You know, what are your expectations for near-term production and cash flow growth?
Sure, Brian. Thanks again for having me here, and certainly my pleasure. Yes, we are a partner with Denbury in the Delphi Field, which is located in northeast Louisiana. It is a small giant. It's produced about 190 million barrels of oil in its history. The CO2 enhanced oil recovery project that we're doing with Denbury has an estimated reserves attached to it of up to 68 million barrels of additional recovery. Our share of that today is about 410 barrels a day. The field as a whole is producing about 5,500 barrels a day. By sometime next year, year and a half, our interest will increase to about 1,400 barrels a day net to the company. And then at peak production, which is in a couple of years, our net will increase to about 2,900 barrels a day. In terms of a cash equivalent, our cash flow today is on the order of about $18 million a year dollars on a full annualized basis. Then after our working interest reverse next year, that'll increase to about a $40 million a year rate. And at peak level in a couple of years, we're looking at twice that, or about $80 million a year revenue from our interest in that field.
So moving from 18 to 40 to almost 80, as you're growing that cash flow, where do you plan to reinvest that capital to build and grow on the success that you've had? So.
Sure, and that's the question that I get all the time is what do we do with the benefits of what we've created today? And we have established 3 projects for redeploying that cash flow. Our focus is redeploying the cash flow for the next couple of years. But the 3 projects that we have are the Mississippian lime in central Oklahoma. A second project is in the redevelopment of an old water flood and similar projects in South Texas. And then a third project is commercialization of some artificial lift technology that we've developed and patented for horizontal wells.
Okay. So what attracted you to the Mississippian play? And sort of a second question to add on to that is, you know, why have you chosen to target the particular area that you're in for the Mississippi play, and sort of how does that play into the Evolution strategy?
Sure. We were looking for a way to redeploy the Delphi cash flow with our particular strengths. And so we were looking for a project that was a very oily project, one that could redeploy our expertise in horizontal drilling, and one that had a reasonable cost per well, because we didn't want exposure to real high-cost wells, and it also had to be close to us in our Houston office. In terms of why particularly the Mississippian lime play, the easiest way to explain that is you take 1 barrel of cash flow from the Delphi Field, that's roughly $100 per barrel. Take that $100 and I can then take that to the Mississippi Lime Project, and I can develop 5 or 6 barrels of reserves with that same cash flow. So as I develop my 16.5 million barrels in Delphi and it generates cash flow, I'm able to generate substantial new reserves in the Mississippi Lime Project.
So it sounds like a great future growth prospect for the company,
right,
and it's oil weighted. I believe you're currently drilling your first water disposal well, which is a must in the play.
Right.
A lot of associated water there. When do you believe this will be done? Sort of what are next steps to begin drilling your first horizontal oil well in the play?
Sure. Currently, we have a 45% interest in this joint venture, which owns 12,000 acres in the play, and we're looking to grow that. At 160 acres per location, what that means is that we have perhaps 30 locations net to our interest in what we own already, and we hope to grow that substantially. We are drilling at our anticipated drilling pace is about anywhere from 6 to 12 wells per year on a gross level. Our first well that we are drilling is our disposal well, because the Mississippi lime does produce a fair amount of water along with the oil. So you have to have your own disposal well. That is very near TD, and then we expect to be picking up the rig to drill our first producer well a little bit later on this summer, and then a fairly active program thereafter, a one-rig program.
Okay, okay. And you had mentioned your GARP technology earlier. I do want to educate some of our viewers on that. Talk with us a little bit about the benefits of the patent and sort of, how it's creating, per share value for
Sure.
Evolution.
We have a very strong operating expertise in our company in horizontal wells. The head of my operations was head of production for Anadarko in one of their largest fields that was horizontally drilled. And one of the frustrations he had seen was that they had to walk away from wells just simply because the fluid level in the reservoir had dropped below the artificial or mechanical pump in the wellbore, because you can't put a mechanical pump into a curve very easily. And so after joining us in 2005, he developed the concept of marrying two types of artificial lift, the gas lift along with the mechanical lift. And by doing that, we're able to move fluid from the very lowest point in the wellbore up to the intake level of the mechanical pump. We've actually applied this to a number of our own wells very successfully. It seems to add somewhere in the 15 to 25% additional reserves to what's already been produced. Last summer, about a year ago, we were able to get our patent completed and issued to us, which then allowed us to begin commercializing this with third parties. We entered into 2 deals with third-party companies, have installed the technology on 3 wells today with spectacularly good results, where we've added on the order of 50,000 or more barrels of oil equivalent of production or reserves at a very nominal cost to us. So it's been very beneficial for both us and the client that we're working with. We're looking to rapidly grow and commercialize this with other companies. Given that there are thousands of horizontal wells being drilled annually, this is a great opportunity for companies to increase production at a very minimal cost to them.
Okay. So oil and gas companies, I do want to touch sort of on your financial structure. Mm-hmm. Especially in the small cap arena, they need to stay, financially nimble to continue to execute on your operational goals.
Yes.
What is your philosophy on debt and sort of your balance sheet at Evolution?
We are a very conservative company when it comes to the financial structure. We have no debt. We have no intent on adding debt to the structure. We do have a small facility, a standby, but only to help us meet any obligations we might have on areas of mutual interest and so forth, where you get the opportunity to participate and have 15 days to respond. So we do have that. We have a small issue of preferred stock that's a non-convertible preferred outstanding that is a very attractive piece of paper. I think it currently yields about 7.7% to the holders. But that's a very small piece, only about $8 million outstanding of face value. But we have market cap of well over $200 million, no debt, and we intend to keep it that way. We operate well within our own cash flow. In fact, we're probably one of the very few oil companies who have the issue of how to redeploy all of our cash flow as opposed to how to get the cash to meet our drilling program. So very pleased with that position.
Well, Bob, I want to thank you again for joining us. Seems like there's a lot coming down the pike for you guys in terms of growing cash flow from the Delphi Field, your Mississippian projects, your GARP technology. Again, thanks for joining us today, and I appreciate your time.
My pleasure.